Hello everyone, can you hear me well? Okay. So I will present the result of a chair on certification, so CertifAI, certification of ML-based system. So the chair is composed of 8 permanent researchers, people from LAS, IRIT, Airbus, CS, and Onera. 4 PhD students, you've seen 2 of them in lightning talk, Noémie and Irina. Noémie and Anthony has just started as a PhD CIFRE, and Irina and Iban were funded by Anity. And Joris was also a postdoc during 2 years with Anity, and now is a researcher at IRD in Montpellier. And in the meantime, we have also hired 9 MEM1 and M2 internship. So me, certification, I hope after 4 years, you are aware what it is for my share, because many people has used the term certification during the 2 days, but it's not always the same. So for us, it's really aeronautical certification, meaning that we want to comply with the applicable standards and provide the argumentation that the product complies with the regulation, going through a certain number of standards. So for us, the standards are the DO 178C software that Irina mentioned. And since 2019, so at the beginning of Anity, started the certification group from FAA and EASA, so EUROCAE and SAE, that lead to the guidelines that will be named soon ARP 6993. So several of us are part of this group. And if you remember, I explained this last year. So between the previous ARP and the DO, we put these new guidelines that will help the designer develop the ML part. So to handle the data, to handle the model design, etc., etc., etc. So in the chair, we don't focus on everything because it's way too vast. We are interested at the validation and verification at the end of the design, and also at the implementation part. So what we did in the chair is to look at end-to-end development process. So how these guidelines can be translated into a certified compliant development process for an applicant, started at the end of the model design for us. So what can we put in place? How can we argue that this kind of end-to-end development will be accepted by the certification authorities, so EASA, European for us? And also while providing sufficient functionality or ML performances, because if we did something very bad, it won't be used. So I try to put this end-to-end process in a kind of a scheme. So we are at the end, as I said, the model is trained. We have a requirement from system and safety. And then we want first to apply a formal verification. So the first thing the first trouble that we encountered that was really surprising us is that when we exchange model, ML model, we have always troubles. Till last week with Franck Marmalet, I have again trouble exchanging ML model. Should not be a problem because mathematically everything is clear and non-ambiguous. So we worked on a way to describe properly this kind of format exchange, and now there is a group going on between several partners to push ONNX profile for aeronautic, so that we can exchange model and it won't be ambiguous whether I use PyTorch, TensorFlow, Reluplex, Marabout, or whatever. Okay. Once we have this format and we can exchange the model, then we want to prove as much as we can, and in particular to prove that the intended function is fulfilled. Sometimes it's not everywhere it's fulfilled, and also we can have abnormal condition. So here we put in place safety net or runtime verification. And of course, at the end, we have the implementation. So to look at the different end-to-end process, the different part, we relied on 4 use cases. So 2 academic, the ACASGZU that just mentioned Joao, an emergency landing for UAV, visual-based landing based on LARD that also we mentioned today, and drone detection tracking, which is proprietary. And also in terms of implementation and proof, we particularly focused on 3 types of target. So the ARM-based core with the vector extension from IRINA, the NVIDIA GPU, of course, the Jetson, the embedded one, and RTL or hardware accelerator in FPGA. So briefly, you remember the ACASGZU is the avoidance collision. So the purpose was to replace a set of lookup table by a set of neural network. This has been done by Stanford University 5 or 6 years ago now. And our starting point was, okay, they did that, but can we certify such an approach? Second use case is the emergency, the drone emergency landing. So the idea is for the drone to find an area where he can land straight because it encounters some problem. I don't know, he lost the GPS or whatever. The visual-based landing. So we have a camera on the nose of the aircraft. We can observe the runway, and we want to know the pose of this camera and to know the exact position of the aircraft so that we can land autonomously. And also some advertisement about the LARD open source data set. So at the beginning, we have developed a Google Earth Studio-based generator. The idea was to easily generate synthetic data and label them. And recently, a colleague of us from DGA, he did also the scripting in Microsoft Flight Simulator so that we can have diversity of images. So this is good maybe for learning or not. It's always good, but I mean, already the person from machine learning told me that the problem is too easy because we have a 98% of accuracy, so there's no challenge, okay? But in terms of certification, we are really in front of a big challenge. So the idea of having this flight simulator, so you see it's the same image here from a real flight, here in Google Studio and in Flight Simulator, is to have dissemblance. So we hope that this dissemblance will be an argument to say that the result is more trustful. Okay, we hope we don't have any proof yet, but that's our starting point. And maybe you can see, but the video is not very good, but Flight Simulator, in fact, provides better quality of image and variability in the environment than Google Earth Studio. And also, we labeled manually a real image from a YouTube channel because the pilots, they like to put movies of landing. The drone detection is based on a camera that is in charge of tracking and focusing of a drone that arrives in an area and it should not be there. It will be used in the JO of Paris in 2024. So it is developed by CS and also Thales. So we have different zones, and here the camera must zoom, and you see it's the same for LARD, in fact, but the range of pixel for what we have to observe is very, very large, from very, very small square of pixel to larger. So in terms of machine learning, it is a hard problem, I was told from a machine learning specialist. So this kind of size. We have to recognize between drone and birds and drone, and from the quality of the image, not that easy. And this part is also in collaboration with IRT Saint-Exupéry. So some work has been done here by my colleague Mohamed, who is there. So we had to define the operational design domain. So the chair, we wanted to start after the training, but in fact, for certification, even for verification, we need more. So we had to go back, and we need to define this operational domain. And so Mohamed tried to characterize what it is, and we're also working on that with DIL mission certification for the LARD part. And also from the existing dataset and the proprietary dataset, what we observe is that the dataset has many biases, the complete dataset, and we have to unbias it to prove that the distribution of the dataset is compliant with the ODD. So we reuse, Mohamed reused the academic result to transform images so that the drone and the bird are not in the middle always of the image, but they are moving around, and also to multiply the number of objects in the image. If you have some question on that, please go to Mohamed. Okay, let's say that we have our use case, we have a data set, we have a trend model, and now we want to use formal verification. So you have seen a presentation of Noémie. So Noémie started recently, and her PhD plans to prove property on images, which is very complex. And what we did in NET1 was not on images, it was on ACAS-XU. So a problem which is much simpler compared to image. But we want to prove that the model or the system, including the model, fulfill the intended function. So we need to express what is doing the system, what we want to observe, and what we have, as Noémie explained. And all these type of properties are what we call safety or reachability property. We have a set X, we have a model, and we want to compute all the reachable state f of x. So in general, it's not possible to do that. First, we have to represent x as a set, or as a set that is handleable, that can be handled by a tool. So usually, we use an abstract domain here. So we have another approximation of x. Then we use a solver to compute the image of this abstract domain. So there are some exact solvers that can compute the exact set, but as you guess, they take a lot of time because the problem is very complex. And you have approximating solvers who are much faster, but still for image and large model, it doesn't scale well, who compute another approximation. So among this kind of a tool, it's usually based on abstract interpretation. We used in NET1 first Deep Poly, and Melanie, who is there and with whom we did the presentation on formal verification last year, developed an open source tool which is called Decommon that allows to make this kind of over approximation. You can import directly a Keras model, express your property much easily than usual tool, and compute this kind of reachability. So Melanie, the idea was to develop this library for more industrial users who are not familiar with formal method. So it's an easy way, compared to the academic tools. Yes, it's much easier to express the problem, your model, and to compute your property. And also, she has tuned the existing result, as she mentioned during the industry talk, tuned it for the needs of Airbus, of course. But it's open source anyway, you can use it. So what did we do for the ACAS-XU? So the ACAS-XU, we wanted to prove that replacing the LUT by the neural network was safe. That was the first approach that we did. So to say that it is safe, we defined the property of similarity, saying that the decision of a neural network are included in those of a lookup table. And then we say this, if the neural network does that, we consider them as safe. So first, we have fixed two parameters of the input of a neural network, because the neural network has all of these inputs. So tau is the time between the horizontal separation. So we keep tau to be 0. So we have 5 inputs. So it's a 5-dimension problem. So first, we fixed the speed, the velocity of the on-chip and the intruder. And if you look at the result, we took first the Git from Stanford University, and to prove that the neural network always takes similar decision as Veloot. On 3D, it took us 5 days. And of course, we need to go to 5Ds. And I did a kind of estimation of how long it would take to compute the 5D model. It was more than 3 years, so it was not an option. So what did we do? By my colleague from Deal, so Frank, some other colleagues also from Deal, and Melanie, they tried to train again the model. So even though I said I want to start after the trained model, what we observe in verification is that if we don't take the idea that we want to prove something in account, it doesn't work well. So they did some training. Adversarial was done with making adversarial attack. Corner was a model with more data. And DLEAP, you recognize the one leap sheets from Deal. So compared to these 5 days, we have reduced the time. So adversarial and DLEAP are the best one from my libraries of model from ACAS. And even DLEAP in terms of time is much faster because one Lipschitz model has good properties, are more smooth for formal verification. So now I'm capable of making a 5D verification. And for adversarial, it took me 30 days. And much less with DLEAP. In terms of quality of the model, so how good are they compared to the lookup table? So it seems similar because it's close, but since it's not 100%, it means that in terms of certification, I have to put a safety net in parallel. And the safety net for us was the part of the lookup table that will take on charge the decision at this point. So here, this small difference of percentages has an impact in terms of memory footprint of a safety net. So it's still a good news. In fact, I would like a higher percentage of success and a low time of verification. In terms of runtime verification, this has been done by my colleague Jérémy Guillochet, Kevin Delmas, and Joris. So their idea was to add some runtime way to manage hazardous behaviors. So they look at the literature, which is really heavy on runtime verification for machine learning. And first, what they observe is that it was missing in the literature relevant metrics to compare different runtime verification approach. And also, they wanted to have a fair framework to compare them. So, Safety Monitor runtime verification, what it is a tool, a software, where you can observe different parts of your model. You can observe the input, so you can observe the input. You can observe anything that happens in the neural network, and you can also observe the output. So in the literature, what was done was most of the time the OOD, out of distribution. So OOD, it means that you want to detect situations that are not compliant with the training distribution. Indeed, if it's not compliant with the trained distribution, you don't know well what the model will be doing, and you are a bit scared. But this kind of out of distribution metric, in fact, is completely independent of the neural network. So I hope I won't say bad stuff. This is the reason why they develop a new concept, which is the out-of-model scope, which is completely dependent of the DNN because it's to detect the situation where the DNN fail. Okay, so let's take some example. So here it is a dog. For me, it's not clear, and the model fails and say it's a cat. Yeah. So this is a OMS reject because it is a dog, but it is also a OOD reject because the contrast or the brightness is too high. Even us, we cannot recognize that it is a dog. Okay, this is a dog. Okay, everybody accept it. In this case, this one is a cat. Okay. The model recognize a cat, but it's OOD because again, even us, we cannot recognize it. And the last one, it's a reject, so I guess it's a cat, but me, I see a dog, so okay. This one, it's a reject because it's a bad classification, but the image is in the distribution, okay? So you see the difference between OMS and OOD. And so they show also that OMS is objective because does the model classify correctly or not, while OOD is ambiguous. When do I decide that the contrast is too high? When do I decide the different threshold? It is unclear in the paper. There's no formal definition of such approach. Then they have developed this framework of a comparison of different approach, of different safety monitor or runtime verification based on an inspiration of reinforcement learning. So they want to observe some traces because it was more for the drone UAV landing that I've shown you, where you accumulate the decision and is it OOD or is it OMS? If you want more, you go to them, please, because I'm not sure, I'm not able to explain it. And recently, what they did also was to think about this threshold, because to say that a decision or an input or something is OMS, you put some threshold, and usually the threshold, you choose it arbitrarily. And here they wanted to see this threshold definition as an optimization problem and to find the optimal threshold for a given problem. Last part of the work was the implementation part. So you have seen this morning Irina with Aceton, such that she generates C code for CPU and CPU plus vector with GEM in particular. There is also the work of Iban, who is working with NXP, so it's a collaboration with, on NXP. So they want to have some hardware accelerator. Here it's a streaming accelerator, meaning that you recognize exactly the neural network. And the idea is if the neural network is used in the correct situation, so in OOD, but if there is a hardware error during the execution, then the classification, here there was an animation that has been lost, is wrong. Okay, so the purpose was to see how to detect this kind of hardware error, and what has been done is to define what are the accelerators, to put in place fault injection and formal method to assess whether the fault injection triggered enough situation of failure so that we can harden the hardware. So, and to conclude, so we have we have worked on this end-to-end approach to provide some evidence that certification will eventually, will possibly be reached. And also we have proposed the industrial chair in Anitidu, so let's cross finger like everyone, where we want to continue and tackle harder problem with image, with more complex hybrid architecture, with MPSoC, with a certain number of accelerator, hardware, GPU, etc., and have, again, more results. That's
Thank you, Claire. Questions to Claire? Yeah, of course. I have one, no problem. And so it's. I think I always ask you the same question, so you maybe know what I'm going to talk about. Is it's when you have kernels, computational kernels like matrix inversions or and computational kernels dealing with floating point operations and I was wondering how you could certify this kind of software. Of course, you can. So yes, this is the question, because even for when we design such libraries for us, it's very hard to compare softwares to measure the level of reliability, and so having a standard, for instance, for us would be very hard. So I'm wondering how does it happen in your case when because the computer arithmetic is something which is hard to model.
About numerical error.
Yes.
Okay. So this is your part as usual, not mine, but
Yes, but you keep
So,
saying that. So
yeah,
keep
keeps.
I cannot do
So indeed, there are numerical error when we execute on hardware, and there are some good practices in aeronautic, and we suppose in the chair that they are used for machine learning. So this is why we say it's out of scope for us, but someone has to deal with that definitely. Yeah. So us, what we promote is to quantize. This is why we in 92 we push for quantization, fixed arithmetic, possibly integer. But for the RTL part, we use a fixed arithmetic. And also, yes, we put for that. If you use float, we'll have trouble definitely. But machine learning, they want to use float, so we have to change their mind or to do post-training after and try preserving their accuracy. There are more and more work. Huh? So people from Perpignan, I don't know if you know them, and also I've seen more and more papers that do this post-training with a bit of fixing, with a bit of retraining if needed, to have a fixed point arithmetic, and then we're back to what we know. That's good for you?
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much.